Welcome to the David Pakman Show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire and Farron Balanced, sitting in for David Pakman today. And folks, it's the end of the week. It's been a crazy week, so we have a lot of news to cover. We've got Rudy Giuliani having what might be the worst week ever. Jack Smith trying to cut Donald Trump off at the Supreme Court. Donald Trump's Colorado being kicked off the ballot there. That decision's going to have huge impacts for his other criminal cases that he's facing. And of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is back out there saying some of the dumbest things you could imagine. So without any further ado, let's get in to today's stories. Starting off today, Rudy Giuliani has had such a bad week that those three ghosts that are going to be visiting him on Christmas Eve are probably going to have no impact whatsoever because things are already at rock bottom for Mr. Giuliani. The week started with Giuliani, of course, as everybody knows, getting hit with another lawsuit from Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss because for the life of him, he simply couldn't stop defaming them even after the $148 million jury verdict against him last week. Then, after that happened, a couple days later, the judge in the case, responding to a motion filed by Freeman and Moss's lawyers, said that Giuliani has to pay up immediately. He cannot postpone that. There was a 30-day stay in place, so he had 30 days before he was going to have to make any payments. During that time, he could appeal it. But the judge, after hearing this motion from Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's lawyers, said, I agree with you. He has a history of not paying even just, tiny sums of money that he's already been ordered to pay. He's having trouble paying his lawyers. I am going to remove the 30-day stay and say that Rudy Giuliani has to pay you $146 million immediately. Now, you may be wondering, I just said 148. Why did I say 146? That's because earlier this week, Rudy Giuliani did get a bit of a gift because the plaintiffs actually agreed to reduce the amount of punitive damages by $2 million. So it dropped from 148 to 146. But apparently that doesn't matter at all because the day after Giuliani was ordered to immediately pay Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing $500 million in debt. Now, $146 million of that $500 million in debt is obviously the verdict against him with Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. But he also has, what do we have here? $1 million owed in taxes, $3.5 million in legal fees, and the rest of it is a lot of potential liabilities that Rudy Giuliani is facing. The sexual harassment lawsuit from his former employee, the Dominion voting systems lawsuit, the Smartmatic lawsuit, the criminal proceedings going on in Georgia. So Giuliani's like, listen, I'm tapped out. I got nothing. I have $10 million in cash, according to this bankruptcy filing, and that's it. So the big question is, how is this going to impact Rudy Giuliani being ordered to immediately pay Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss? Well, the answer is not quite complicated, but it takes a moment, so bear with me on this. This is a civil trial with the defamation. Same thing, by the way, with the other defamation lawsuits. Civil matter, not criminal. So no matter what, Rudy Giuliani is not going to go to jail for not paying these judgments against him and any future judgment against him. What it does mean, however, is that he's going to lose everything he has because there's several options that the court system has to allow the victims to recoup their money. The first is wage garnishment. That is the most obvious and that is one of the most common. However, we're talking about a man that doesn't exactly have a typical 9-to-5 job and get a bi-weekly paycheck. So it's not exactly like the court system's going to say, okay, every time you get a paycheck, 50% comes out and it goes to these women. Giuliani doesn't get traditional paychecks. I don't even know that he really has like a job. I know he's got his Giuliani and Associates, but I don't know if that's even doing business because of all of Giuliani's problems. So wage garnishment will happen if Giuliani actually has wages that he reports each year. But to me, that kind of seems like a long shot. What will likely happen is Giuliani will lose every piece of property that he currently owns. And that, of course, is going to be the seizure of his assets. So anything Giuliani has that is of value will likely be seized by the courts in order to either sell it off at auction and give the money to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, or, in some extraordinary circumstances, give them the property. So that Manhattan townhouse that Rudy Giuliani's been trying to offload, that may become the new residence of Freeman and Moss. Maybe it becomes a rental property for them, who knows? But Giuliani, because he's now filed for bankruptcy, is likely to lose everything. And that's actually what the judge, Beryl Howell, had been afraid of with this 30-day stay that originally was in place for Giuliani that she got rid of. She was afraid that Giuliani was not only just never going to pay, but that he was going to try to shift around assets. She also, kind of suggested that, listen, when you do hold properties like Rudy Giuliani does that do have value to them, and you know that those could be seized and given to the plaintiffs, what worries the courts is that you're going to basically do like a fire sale and say, hey, I've got this condo worth $6 million. I'll sell it to you for $500,000 right now. So you don't have to give that property up to the people. You sell it for pennies on the dollar, and then you say, oh, no, I don't have any money and I don't have any assets. The judge was afraid of that, so that's why she made that decision. With Giuliani now filing for bankruptcy, what's likely to happen at this point is that they're going to freeze everything. Not with the case, but I'm talking about freeze all of his assets. You don't get to touch anything. You don't get to move anything. You don't get to sell anything. Everything you have is now on hold. You want to go, down to the little newsstand and buy a pack of gum, you got to run it through us first. So that is probably what's going to happen now. But things are bad for Giuliani. This particular defamation lawsuit is just one of several that he's facing. And honestly, the penalty for this one is probably going to be lower than the one from Dominion and Smartmatic. So by the time all this is over, Rudy Giuliani will not only have nothing left to his name, but he will have also ruined that name as well. No more America's mayor. He's going to be remembered by history as the crackpot lawyer who got himself in trouble while trying to get his client out of trouble. Not exactly the best legacy to leave, but it's the one he chose.
I love the sponsor. Our sponsor, Green Pan, makes the best ceramic nonstick cookware money can buy. I've been using it for years. You're probably familiar with Green Pan. They really revolutionized home cooking back in 2007 when they introduced the ceramic nonstick cookware. Now Green Pan has launched their slow cookers. You can create family-sized meals with the press of a button. They're available in 8 beautiful colors. I have the white one. The other night I made a beautiful brisket. Not technically a Hanukkah brisket, not yet, but could be. I made it in my Green Pan slow cooker. The results are amazing, super easy to clean up. You can brown in the pot. I don't need to brown on the stove. I can do it all in the slow cooker. None of Green Pan's cookware has any of the harmful chemicals that other brands have. Green Pan has their own factory. They live up to their standards. They won the 2023 Good Housekeeping Sustainable Innovation Award. And all Green Pan stuff has a 60-day return policy, so you have plenty of time to make sure it is right for you. Upgrade your cookware this holiday season with Green Pan. Go to greenpan.us and use the code PACMAN to get 30% off your entire order, plus free shipping on orders over $99. The link is down below.